Are you stuck in a negative cycle in your relationship? If you're wondering why you keep repeating the same toxic pattern with your partner, this video is for you. When things get toxic, it's so easy for others to just say, well, you need to just leave. But why is it so hard for us to actually do that? Why can't we just cut them off and move on? This might be because you actually formed a unique bond with them called a trauma bond. Trauma bond is an unhealthy attachment caused by the cycle of abuse. The tricky part is, though, it's sometimes difficult to tell between love and a trauma bond. So today, we're going to tell you a couple signs to look out for if your relationship is a trauma bond. Let's get into it.
Number 1, bonding through drama. To identify between a genuine love and trauma bond, first you need to look at your relationship from third person's perspective. Relationships formed with this bond can feel super intense, like a roller coaster ride of ups and downs. Does your partner have mood swings? If something happens to them, do they lash out on you regardless of your involvement? Does a disagreement turn into a huge fight instead of being able to talk about it calmly? These are all common behaviors that come from a narcissist to create an extra emotional environment to gain control over you. In a trauma bond, through so many cycles of ups and downs, you could even start to feel deep affection towards them. This is because our brains are wired to want to feel close to them, especially when things get tough. This is why when a relationship is filled with drama, trauma bond can happen very quickly. On the other hand, deep, passionate connections grow slowly and it feels steady. All the highs and lows of emotions can feel exciting at first, but they're not same as true love. That excitement you feel might be actually anxiety or you being on the edge. And this is a common element in trauma bonding.
Number 2, no boundaries. There are very little, if not zero, boundaries between you and your partner, physically, mentally, and emotionally. When you lack physical boundaries, you are not free to go do your own things. Seeing your friends or family is strictly limited, and going out on your own is definitely not acceptable. This is because your partner is afraid that someone else could provide you with your emotional needs. To prevent this from happening, they limit opportunities for you to go out and have relationships with other people, all so you will not become less dependent on them. When you lack mental boundaries, you cannot make an independent decision. In some cases, you are made to believe that you are not even capable of doing that by consistently being talked down to or questioned by the way that you think. When gaslighted continuously, you begin to need them to make a decision for yourself, or at least have them there so you can question whether they are satisfied with the decision that you made. When you lack emotional boundaries, your emotions are conjoined. You can only feel safe, happy, and relaxed when they feel happy. You feel responsible for their feelings and will do anything to keep them happy. So, when there are no boundaries, you tend to put their needs before your own. It becomes about them, how to meet their needs, even when your needs and safety are not respected. Even if you see toxic traits in them, you feel like you need to be there because you are the only one who can truly understand them. The reason why you always find that reason to stay is because you feel like your value is being their caregiver. Taking care of them makes you feel like you're the one who is in control of the situation, not a victim. So it's easier to think that way, right? This is how the loyalty feeling is developed in a trauma bond.
Number 3, the cycle of abuse and remorse. They insult or abuse you only to follow up with the shower of apologies, kindness, and promises to change. When this happens, you go into the cycle of hope and despair. So this explains that the attachment you grow isn't actually to the abuser themselves. It is more to the roller coaster of the emotions that we explained earlier that happens with the abuse. So this shower of apologies and sweetness after the abuse is called love bombing. In a relationship with a trauma bond, your partner can use this manipulative tactic pretty often. The excessive affection and praise will establish your emotional dependence very quickly and strongly. This is what makes it difficult for you to leave the relationship despite the constant manipulation or abuse.
Number 4, justifying abusive behavior. Do you try to deny or minimize your partner's unhealthy behavior? When someone questions your relationship or points out the problem, you might say things like, "Oh, it's really not that bad. Oh, they were just yelling at me because they were tired," or "I can handle it, it's just fine." You make excuses for them or sometimes even defend them. You could think it's your fault or that you deserve it, instead of acknowledging that you're hurt and addressing the problem. At that point, you have definitely developed an unhealthy thinking pattern. Your brain is distorting reality for survival, and this is a coping mechanism. I mean, it's definitely much easier to just pretend that everything is fine, right? Admitting that it might not be a real love is very scary. Also, when you find yourself hiding parts of your relationship from others, this is a sign that there is definitely something wrong. You might be consciously or unconsciously avoiding the problem, so you're not called out by it because you don't want to feel ashamed, or you're even afraid of letting go of that bond. You might be telling yourself all these reasons of why it's okay or that it's just temporary, but the truth is, you should be able to feel like you don't have to hide any part of your relationship. And you shouldn't have to tell yourself that it's going to be better than it is today.
Understanding these signs is very important to recognize the difference between a trauma bond and genuine love. A healthy relationship should have mutual respect, and it should definitely make you feel good about yourself while in a relationship. Share this with somebody who needs it, or share your experience with this down in the comments. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tips on happier and healthier relationships.